Hello, and welcome. Today I'm sharing a fun project, making a master board out of a piece of deli paper and some tea bags. So that is a piece of 12 by 12 deli paper that I have, and I'm going to attach some tea bags to that piece of deli paper. As you can see, I belong to a Facebook group, and it's coordinated by Nina Ribena and Kylie Koo, who both have YouTube channels as well. They're incredibly talented and creative people, and they have weekly prompts, and this is in response to a prompt from last week to make a master board and then use the master board to make projects. So I'm going to show you how I make a master board like this one. I made that one last week, and then I'm going to make some projects and show you the projects at the end that I made from the different master boards. I made a couple, that's one, and then that's another one I made. The first one I was very cautious with the color because I didn't want to overdo. Then I got a bit bolder, and on that one I did a little bit of collaging in the background with some book pages, and the prompt with the Facebook group did not include collage, so that one is technically not following the prompt. But I love both of those, and then I'm going to show you the process of making one now with different colors. And so I'm going to start out making, attaching my tea bags to the deli paper. I'm using matte medium, but you could use Mod Podge, and you could probably even use a glue stick, or, any glue that you have that would work is fine. So as I'm doing that, I want to say that I will put links down below to Kylie's and Nina's videos for this week, and I encourage you to watch them because if you haven't already, they have a large following already. So, but if you haven't, I would encourage you to watch their videos, and they have some great previous videos. Oh my gosh, so many different creative projects. So, and I'll put a link to the Facebook group, if I can do that. I think I can, in my description box below, in case anyone's interested in following joining the Facebook group. You can request to join. There's a lot of inspiration in that group, and a lot of positive reinforcement. Everybody's very encouraging. So anyway, I'm not sure what else to say about my master board. I'll talk about master boards in case someone doesn't know what it is. A master board is basically anything you create and then use it to make other projects. So with this one, you'll see later on the projects that I create with my master board and what I do with it. So there's my finished base or substrate, I guess, that I'm going to use. I'm showing you that I just attach them, kind of random, but going in different directions, so it's a little more interesting, and then tearing off the excess. I like my projects oftentimes to be grungy and a little bit on the messy side, I guess I would say. So that's why I wanted to just tear the ends and leave it kind of raggedy like that. Plus, I don't know what I'll do with this master board, so I can cut straight edges later if I want to. So I'm using this yellow acrylic ink. It's a little bit shiny, and orange golden high flow ink. It's an acrylic ink, and it's very, very liquidy, very fluid. And then I wanted to use my favorite golden teal color. And since I didn't have an ink or a fluid enough in that color, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I just put some in a little cup and put some water in the cup to just make it a little more fluid. So then I just randomly add colors. I started with the orange because I thought it would be better to start with the dark color and then add the lighter color. And later you'll see that I'm going to add the teal as kind of a border around the edges and then a little bit in the middle. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but just explaining my process. my thought process too. And so you can see I spritz that with water, and then I do dab some of it up because it's either too strong or, it has a lot of water. So I tried to dry it somewhat in between steps because I didn't want my colors intermingling too much. And I didn't always dry it completely, and sometimes I did dry it completely. So this is, I'll warn you, my process was a very messy process, a lot of fun, but messy, a lot of water, a lot of paint everywhere, or inks. And but anyway, I really enjoy that kind of process and getting all messy. So you can see my orange and yellow is getting a little bit intermingled. I didn't really dry it that well, but that's okay. So I'm going to keep going here and adding more of the yellow, and spritzing it with water. And it's just, I'd continue doing that until I get it looking the way I want it to look. And I think I was drying there in that little gap of time because I didn't want my teal mixing with the other colors too much. And now I'm putting it along the edges there, and then I'll spritz it with water and let it run down. As soon as I do that, I love the way it looks. But then I realized that I need a little more color in the background. I wanted a little more orange and a little bit more yellow in there. And then I'll put the teal around the border. So that's what I'm going to do next. And once again, I'm spritzing with a lot of water. I'm dropping a lot of the inks, the color. I'm calling that ink, but it's not really an ink. These are all acrylic products, by the way, which means when they dry they'll be permanent, because I wanted it to be a permanent product. So that's what I did. And now I'm adding in the yellow. This is really just very subjective, so you can you just add where you want to add. You can take away with a paper towel, as I'm doing there. If it's too much, you can spread it around with your fingers the way I'm doing, and until you're happy with the end result. You could use paint too. You don't have to use inks and things like that, of course. So I'm just, I think, saying that I added more yellow in the middle. And now I'm going to do the border of the teal color around all four sides, the remaining three, I should say. And by the way, after I do all this with the color, it does look like a bit of a hot mess. And see there, my colors are still, even though I dried it really well, I thought, my colors are still mixing a little more and creating that kind of weird color. So I just dabbed that up with a paper towel. And so what I was going to say is that at some point, this looks, soon, it's going to look a bit of a hot mess, I will admit. And that's okay, because it all works out fine in the end. And in my opinion, I think it came out really nice. So you'll see. And also, when you create something like this, if you cut it into pieces, those pieces, sometimes your whole piece may not look like you want it to, or maybe look that great, to be honest. But when you cut it into pieces, they can look amazing, even a tiny little scrap of a piece. So keep that in mind. And you can, you can do a lot of different things with these master boards. And I'm just showing you some ideas that I had, or that other people had, and I just kind of copied their ideas. So there you can see I'm pretty happy with the result. I realized that you can see how messy my hands are, and it's a big old mess. But I at some point now, I think I realize I need a little bit more teal on that side. Yep, to kind of balance it all out. So I do that, and then I can't remember what I did next. I mean, I do know, but I don't remember. Okay. So here's where, I think it's not the most attractive thing that I've ever done at the moment. But at this point, I'm going to add some more teal in the middle parts. And in retrospect, you can see I followed the lines of the Teabags a little bit. And in retrospect, looking at this again, I think I could have added a little more teal in the middle, but at the time, I was doing this kind of quickly and recording it, so it was fine. And like I said, in the end, it turns out great. In my opinion, I love it. So that's what counts, right? So again, you can see kind of how wet that thing is, and my hands all full of paint, ink, whatever. Messy, 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 but it was fun. And so next I have to really dry this well for real, because my next step will be, I'm adding more yellow. I'm trying to fill in some of the little bit more of the brown spots. It does need a little bit more yellow there. Spreading it around again with my fingers a bit, dabbing up with the paper towel when you need to. Again, this is just a background for other things. So next, as I said, I want to make sure this is dry, really, really dry, because in the next, I'm going to do some stamping, some stenciling, that kind of thing, and I want the background to be dry before I do that. So, moving on soon. We'll be moving on to the next step. I sped this up to double speed, by the way. I forgot to say that, because imagine if you were watching this in real time, it would have taken forever. And I think you can see pretty clearly what I'm doing, even if though it's sped up. So I think I'm happy with that for now. Okay, so one other thing I did, which I will do here in a moment, I took a really pretty book page that I had right next to me and decided to pick up some of that color and liquid wetness that was there, and you can see that because it was really, really wet. I don't think you can see in the video how wet it is. Now you can sort of see, and then you end up with a pretty page to use for something else. So again, I'm going to dry this, and I'm back with my stamp that I'm going to use. I wanted to use that pretty script writing stamp by Tim Holtz in the background, and so I used some StazOn ink. It's permanent, and so that I didn't want it to move around, so I wanted something that would be permanent when dry. And I was very, very cautious in my stamping, because I didn't want it to be, I wanted it to be really subtle in the background. So you will see me stamping and being cautious about it. And then I get a little bit bolder and stamp, with a little more ink here and there in a lot of different spots. And as you can also see, I'm just using part of the stamp and not the whole thing, because I just wanted touches here and there. So I'm just continuing to do that. And just looking at it and deciding what other spots I want to stamp on. I end up stamping more than I had planned to originally, but that's the way it goes with mixed media projects. You just kind of at least that's what I do. Take it one step at a time and make decisions as you go along. So the stamping takes quite a while. I don't know what else to say while we're watching the stamping. I think I'm done now. The next thing I'm going to do is, I'm still stamping. I'll just jump ahead. And the next thing I'm going to do is to, I had the idea to do some stenciling, but before I do that, I'm going to use some bubble wrap on the background. I felt like at this point it was time to add some white touches to lighten it up and also make it a little more cohesive, I guess. It might be a good word to use. I have this really cool bubble wrap that I'm going to pull out in a minute, and my white paint and my brayer, and I'm going to add that to the background. That's the stencil I was going to use, but I decided to do the white first. And there's my bubble wrap. I forgot to say I have this trivet I bought at the home goods store, not home goods, but like a bath and kitchen store, and I use that trivet a lot as a stamp, but mostly on my gel plate. I love the way that looks, but I use it on other things too, and the bubble wrap as well. I like to use that on my gel plate, and you can see that's a really cool pattern on that bubble wrap. So I get my white paint out and I put it on the paper plate there, and I get my brayer. In retrospect, I should have gotten a bit bigger brayer, but oh well, it works fine. And I put a little bit of white paint on there. Again, I'm being a little bit cautious. It may not look like a little bit, but it is, because when I first do it, you can barely see it. So then, just like with my stamping, I get a little bolder and I put more paint on, because it doesn't really look the way I thought it would. So I do that. I put a lot more paint on it in just a minute, and stamp again, or stamp, I guess, with the bubble wrap is what you would call it. And now you'll see I'm getting my more white paint out and putting more paint on there, and then I end up with something that I really like. Sorry if that made a weird noise. I'm drinking some water. I'm getting tired of talking so much. So there I'm getting the pattern that I wanted. So I think I'm on the right track now. And just continuing to add it willy-nilly here and there. I really like the grungy look of this piece. I didn't have a preconceived idea of what I wanted it to look like, honestly. But I was pretty happy with the direction that I took. So I just did a few white touches, and now I'm going to use that stencil. That's a Tim Holtz stencil as well. I love a lot of his products. My goodness. I call him jokingly the evil genius, because he just comes up with so many great products, and I want everything. He makes me want to buy all of his products. So that stencil of his, I haven't used his stencils in a while, so that's why I pulled that one out, and I thought it would be a good accent one, and so I tried it, and you'll see, I think it looks really cool. It's a little bit darker there than I wanted it to be, so I tried to blot it up with a paper towel, which didn't really do much, but that works if you do it right away. So there you can see I went a little bit lighter there. So I was dabbing my sponge in the black paint, and then I was dabbing off a lot of it on the side there, so that I could do it very, very subtly. I wanted it to blend into the background like that, and not be so stark black as that top left corner. So when you do something like that, you can fix that too by if it doesn't pick up, I waited just a tad bit too long, I guess, to pick it up and make it less stark black. But you can fix that by just, I could add a little more orange or white to dull it down, or something else. And I don't think I ended up doing anything to it after all, because at the end I did something else to kind of tone everything down a little bit, tone the black down, I guess. So I'm just going around and stenciling that black pattern, and again, very, very, very subtly, very subtle. I think it blends into the background a little better that way. and I'm pretty happy with the way it's looking. So I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm turning the piece, different ways, and I'm just using part of the stencil here and there. I'm not really, when I do this, I don't know, I don't really think about it too much. I mean, I try to look at it, and I'm saying here that I have like too many straight lines up and down with that pattern, so I'm just going to fill in a little bit so it doesn't look like that. So, and I'm looking at it to see what I think so far. And okay, here's where I take out my Distress ink. It's a brown color. It's called Ground Espresso. And some of my tea bags were coming up on the edges there because I think I put so much water on there that it started coming out before maybe I put the water before it was completely dry in the background. So anyway, I decided it was a grungy piece and it really needed even more distressing. So I took my ink pad and I just spread it over the top, and I really like the way it turned out. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, which is fine because, you can make a masterboard in any style you want to. Even with the tea bags, you can make it less grungy. But that's what I did, and I really like the way it turned out. Okay, I'm back. Sadly, I was recording, babbling away, all about my plans on what to do with my masterboards, and I was not recording. So I have to do it all over again and tell you what I did. Okay, so I had my colorful masterboard. First, I said that I'm not going to do anything with this one right now because I have my other two. That's plenty. So I'm going to save this one for now. That's what the back looks like. I haven't done anything to it. With this one that I made off camera, I backed it with some book pages that I had, some vintage pages that already had this beautiful brown color on the edges because I knew I wanted to make something out of it and I wanted to have something on the back. So then I folded it in half to figure out the middle, and I took a ruler and just laid it down and tore it. So I really like that little edge, and I'm going to make it into a little journal. I'm going to put some papers in it and just sew it down the middle with my sewing machine so that it's really, really easy and quick. I was showing these die cuts to decorate my pieces that I got at the dollar store, but a long time ago, so I don't know if they still carry them. They're really pretty, and I pulled one out of the bag because I think I'm going to use this one on the cover of my little journal. I'll show you when I'm finished with that. So that's what I did with the original. Now, if you want to make, sorry, I have a mint in my mouth, of course. If you want to make copies of your original so you can reuse it and you don't want it, you could even use the copies and keep the original the way it is because, I know we all hate taking apart our beautiful creation sometimes, but I don't mind with that one. I can make another one. So my other idea was, and this is actually not my idea, but I got from Nina Ribina's channel, is just to make copies on she takes hers to a printer and makes beautiful, very pretty copies. I just put it on my printer and made a copy. I didn't adjust the colors or anything. I just wanted to see what they look like and to show you the ideas. I'm sure if I scanned a picture of my masterboard and then adjusted the colors and all that, it would come out much better. It's not as vibrant and whatever. And my printer is old. It's an old inkjet printer that's not very fancy, very basic, very inexpensive printer. So anyway, having said all that, I still like the copies. You can use, this is done regular copy paper, and you can use these in a variety of ways. You can make this a cover too by attaching it to some cardboard or, like a cracker box or something like that, and make it into something. You can make it into tags. ATCs, note cards, all kinds of things. So I just made a couple of copies on that, and then I made a copy on rice paper. Rice paper is too thin to go through my printer, so I also learned this from Nina, that you can attach it with washi tape. So that's what I did. This was actually like this because I cut it open when I was babbling and I thought I was recording, because it was all taped up so that it would go through my printer and not get jammed up. I didn't tape the bottom part because I thought it would be all right, and it's fine. But this upper part, especially as it gets pulled into the printer, you want to make sure that it's, you know, really flat, secure, taped up so it doesn't jam up your printer, because that could be a disaster. So I could just cut this to show you it's a nice thin texture, and it's really nice to use for collage, and you could use it any other way too. You could make this into a journal cover. So you could just keep the original, like I said, and keep making copies and making things if you love it. Here's the my other one, the original, and then the copies, rice paper and just regular old copy paper. So I'm gonna make some pieces, and the other idea that I wanted to mention is if you don't have butterflies like that, which, oh my gosh, I can't pick these up. You can cut out pictures from a magazine, a book, so many different things. A lot of people have these Tim Holtz paper dolls. If you made like a postcard or an ATC, you know, let's say I cut this up into a smaller piece like that. You could decorate it with, I wouldn't use that section probably, but anyway, you get the idea. You could decorate it with one of these Tim Holtz pieces as well. I mean, really anything, sky's the limit. I'll come back and show you what I make at the end. Hi, I'm back with my projects that I made, and I'm excited to share them because I love everything that I made. Very rarely love everything I make, but let me run through some of the things. They're pretty easy to create. First of all, with my more colorful masterboard, I made this little card. It's no particular size, just I had this leaf, and so I tore it to fit this particular leaf. It's a real leaf that I dried out and covered with some shiny stuff. And I actually had this word embellishment already. It fit perfectly on there. I sewed around the edge, and I love the way that looks. And then I also, from that masterboard, I made the little journal with butterfly on the cover, some fibrous sort of paper that I have, a little label. I did sew around the edge, which is fine, but for some reason when I sewed down the middle, it really cut my paper up, and I'll show you how what that looks like. I put some washi tape there to hold it together. I didn't put any tape here to show you what happened. So that's the sewing literally cut my paper in half. So I need to put some masking tape there. I put masking tape through the rest of it. And it's fine because I don't mind the look of masking tape, and also if you use paint, it practically disappears into the background if you do that. And so that's what that looks like. And I just grabbed papers, and I didn't tape that one either. I must have forgotten that one. And here's the middle where it all started to go wrong. So there's my little journal. And then out of the other masterboard, which was this one, my original one, I made a tag, very vintage and grungy. Everything's kind of grungy. And I made this one, I backed with some book page also. And then I made another tag with the time card, which I really love how that turned out. I have seen this idea with using time cards and flashcards, but I've never done it before. And I love the way it looks, very tall and slim. And I backed that with some scrapbook paper to hide the sewing. And with my little scraps, these are actual scraps from making these projects. I made these little word embellishments that I think turned out really cute too. And finally, I made a little envelope. I followed the instructions in Nina Ribina's video, which, as I mentioned, I will link below. It's really, really simple, my kind of project. And her closure is a little bit different than mine. I just have a little cardstock closure that I can slip this into like that. And I backed my masterboard piece with some purple tissue paper because I didn't want it to be thick. I wanted it to be very flexible, and it is. It's really nice. It's such a cool feeling. And so you can see, you know, you can see the purple on the inside. I don't think I necessarily had to do that. I could have left it the way it was, but that's what I decided to do. And then on the back, if you wanted to, you could decorate, of course, your envelope. I left it like that because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it quite yet, but I love the way that turned out. So I hope that you enjoy my projects and my ideas. Some of these are not my ideas, original ideas, but the tea bag on the deli paper I thought was really, really cool. I like that a lot, and I'll probably be doing that again. So thanks for watching. Check out Nina's and Kylie's YouTube channels if you haven't already. They are so talented and so creative. And there is a Facebook group also that they coordinate, as I mentioned before, if you're interested in that, because there's a lot of inspiration there too, a lot of support if you post things. Everyone's very positive and encouraging. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.